EFF has noted the threat by the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, who has issued a threat to cut foreign aid to South Africa and impose sanctions on South Africa for adopting legislation that permits the expropriation of land without compensation and implementing policies that addresses historical race-based inequalities in our country. The statement by Donald Trump is offensive and undermines our sovereignty and is a reminder that our reliance on foreign aid and foreign direct investment surrenders us to the will of imperialists who use money to dictate the economic and policy direction of Africa. We want to make it categorically clear to the President of the USA that we are going to expropriate land without compensation and pursue legislative measures to do so, and no threat will stop us. His misinterpretation of the Expropriation Act, which is a mild and cosmetic intervention, is an assessment of a measure that is going to be pursued through the amendment of our Constitution as South Africans, and there is nothing he can do to undermine our independence. The EFF reiterates its position that we must build state capacity, build a strong agricultural and industrial nation which will not depend on the West, and intensify trade relations with progressive nations such as China, Russia, and nations within BRICS who do not use foreign policy as an instrument to impose their will or bully other nations into submission. The EFF has welcomed the ceasefire in Gaza following the massacre of Palestinians by apartheid Israel and what can only be described as a genocide. For too long, the world has turned a blind eye to the human rights atrocities in Palestine, which include the killing of women and children, bombarding of hospitals, schools, and religious sites of worship, and displacement of Palestinians from their rightful land. The ceasefire must not mean that there will not be accountability for the death of more than 100,000 Palestinian people since the latest genocidal attacks on Palestinians by Israel. The Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, and the Israeli Defense Force remain war criminals. The warrant of arrest issued by the International Criminal Court, ICC, against Netanyahu must remain enforceable, and South Africa must lead by example by implementing the resolution of the Sixth National Assembly, which include the expulsion of the Israeli embassy from South Africa and cutting of all diplomatic ties with Israel. The EFF notes the drastic improvements in the city of Tshwane since the removal of the Democratic Alliance from governance. For 8 years, the DA controlled Tshwane, but their tenure was marked by systematic neglect of black communities and extreme fear-mongering that black leadership from the EFF will ruin the city. However, they oversaw the collapse of critical services and left behind the city in ruins. Since the DA's removal in 2024, Tshwane has made significant strides. The EFF's MMCs have ushered in an era of progressive governance, demonstrating that the DA's absence does not equate to the failure of government. For the first time in years, the people of Hammanskraal have access to clean drinking water, a basic necessity that the DA failed to provide. The city is cleaner and safer, and residents' concerns are attended to daily. The improvements seen in Tshwane stand as evidence that the DA governance model was never about service delivery for all, and their removal has allowed service delivery to thrive, proving that governance is more effective without their divisive, exclusionary policies. Furthermore, as we have entered into the year of the picket lines, we have a clear head start targeting service delivery failures and ensuring tangible improvements where we govern. In the city of Johannesburg, public safety and visibility are at the highest level under our leadership. Our presence in the Johannesburg municipality has ensured that communities experience real and impactful governance. The same dedication is evident in Ekurhuleni and Nelson Mandela Bay, where the EFF is actively addressing service delivery challenges. In Ekurhuleni, the provision of water and infrastructure maintenance is on track, ensuring that residents receive the basic services they deserve. Meanwhile, in Nelson Mandela Bay, the EFF is making significant difference for the indigent, particularly old age homes, by facilitating the cancellation of their municipal debt. These victories demonstrate our commitment to economic freedom and dignity for all, proving that where the EFF leads, service delivery follows. We call on all of our fighters to remain focused and disciplined and rally behind the collective efforts to return the EFF to the people. The EFF remains the most potent weapon for the liberation in South Africa, and under the theme of the year of the picket line, we will uplift the lives of the poorest of the poor towards the decisive election victory in 2026 local government elections. Let us build strong, genuine and organic structures of the EFF which will service our people and assume governance. Let us defend, rebuild and advance the struggle for economic freedom in our lifetime. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Commander-in-Chief and the officials. We'll now open the question and answer session. My name is Sinawa Tambo, National Spokesperson of the EFF. We'll start with the first round of hands. You'll be number 1, you'll be number 2, you'll be number 3, and we'll move in that fashion. Number 1.
Shannon Merrick, SCASI Broadcasting Africa, all protocol observed. I'll start with international issues. Hopefully I can come back with local issues. The President of America has alluded to the issue of land expropriation with or without compensation. He doesn't even care. He's saying South Africa don't have a right, it's a racist policy, it's against white and so on. Can the President of EFF just go deeper into it? Because I know you said it's a watered down, almost a fake land expropriation policy. What is the EFF's real policy on land expropriation? To Elon Musk, the owner of social media, the richest man in the world, has an issue with BEE, broad-based black economic empowerment in South Africa. He's also say that policy is not up to standard, his standard, whatever the case may be. What is the EFF's position on broad-based black economic empowerment? Last but not least, China launched DeepSeek, the latest AI technology. It took America, it took the world by storm. The war between Palestine and Israel was done by missiles, AI technology, and so on. As you alluded to as well, SABC is struggling to launch an app, just to run an app for media. What do you think South Africa should do in terms of AI technology? Thank you.
Thank you. Number 2.
Samkela Masego from the SABC. On the issues of local government, just the EFF's point of view on the removal of the mayor, of the district mayor of Sidibeng, and ultimately your next position when it comes to Mfuleni. What is your posture on that particular aspect? What are the negotiations around the recomposition of the EXCO of the Sidibeng district and Mfuleni? Secondly, on the deployments of the conveners of provinces, looking at your electoral outcome in KwaZulu-Natal, what are some of your priority areas in trying to claw back the lost ground, particularly with the deployments you've made to that particular province? Then lastly, on international relations, the government of the day, the government of national unity, do you perceive it to be reneging on moving away from the West, particularly with the spats that are now being out in the glare with President Donald Trump of the United States basically issuing those threats to South Africa at this point in time? Do you see the current administration working with the West or moving towards the South-South bloc and towards the East? Thank you.
Number 3.
Thank you very much. Muluku Mloto is my name from ENCA. Just 3 quick questions. Starting with you calling on South Africa to take decisive action against Kigali should it be found that they actually killed our soldiers there. Are you only limiting this to the cutting of diplomatic ties, or are you calling on South Africa to pick up arms and essentially confront Rwanda, should it be determined that indeed they killed our servicemen and women? Second question on developments coming from Washington. How would you respond to the views that says, as much as South Africa, we have a right as a sovereign country, we have a right to develop our policies and our legislation and choosing our international friends. On the same token, those who possibly do give us funding in whatever form also have a right to determine who they give their money to, and we should live with that. Lastly, you are governing with the ANC in a few metros. I don't know whether you have, because you at some point you did openly say that you would still want to govern at the national level. Of course, you wouldn't want to be part of that government if the DA and the FF Plus are part of it. Have you given up on those ambitions, or are discussions being had to that effect?
Thank you very much, President.
Thank you very much. The EFF policy is the expropriation of land without compensation, and we make no apology about it. It's actually our first non-negotiable cardinal pillar. And the Expropriation Act, as signed now recently by the President, is nowhere closer to that. If anything, it tries to justify the compensation, that properties can be expropriated, land can be expropriated, but there should be compensation, and condition of expropriating such is that there should be, expropriation should be in the interest of the public, for public use and public interest. So it has watered down what we have been asking for, because ours was a complete no-no on the compensation, but equally complete no-no into excluding the whole thing to public interest and public purpose. Because we want to take land and give to the landless, so that they can produce for their own sustainability, but for the sustainability of South Africa and the world at large, because we think it's the right thing to do. BEE, broad-based economic empowerment, it's a policy that should be implemented. Whether there is Elon Musk involved or not, it must not be a policy for certain people and a policy for other people. Whatever Elon Musk wants to come and do here, he must make sure there is participation of the previously disadvantaged people. Black people must participate in that transaction. Well, you know, we always put an emphasis that there should be more money into research and innovation if we are to, keep up with the AI. China has got capacity to overtake America because they've invested a lot in innovation and research, and they've come to appreciate that AI is here to stay, and it will be with us for quite some time. So it doesn't, take us. It doesn't take anything away from us if we're to put the necessary resources, because our children despite the fact that they are learning in difficult conditions. They are talented, and that talent needs to be harnessed and channeled in a right direction. We supported the removal of the mayor of Sedibeng, and Imfuleni was supporting the removal, because if you want to know a typical example of a corrupt, collapsed municipality, you must go to Imfuleni. You know, you sometimes say Johannesburg inner city is gone, it's rotten. When we agree with that fully, we have no doubt about it, and we have always engaged the ANC about it, that something needs to be done. Unfortunately, we are not given that responsibility. It's not our department. It's like the Department of Roads of Kenigunen, who goes around showing people that the trees have fallen. I mean, at one tree in a suburb, and then he makes a big issue out of it because he's challenged. He's running out of depth. He has no idea what is he doing there. He thought that department could be converted into department of sushi and entertainment and anything of that sort. And he got more than what he bargained for. That's why you can't succeed to fix robots. It's not a duty of public safety to fix robots. It's Kenigunen, and you all speak about it. The robots are not working, but you never dare to call Kenigunen out. I don't know whether it is because there's something you are smoking with him or what, I don't know. But the guy is just incompetent and lazy. He can't fix a robot. There are potholes all over Johannesburg, potholes. There was an incident that happened somewhere here in one street, was it Bree Street, where they hired a Zimbabwean company. That time his department is led by Mabahambe, but Mabahambe, the first opportunity they got to get a person to tend and come and fix a road, they hired a Zimbabwean person. And then they couldn't get anything. They couldn't get that thing done because they weren't taking a lot of money from that guy. So yet he didn't have any capacity to can do that work because the money was stolen from him. As a result, we still have corrugated irons in the middle of a city center. We're told that that's a site establishment. They are trying to fix something there. So we cannot, even when we are working with these people in one municipality or the other, not be in a good position to call them out and say these ones are corrupt. The ANC comrades are corrupt. You know, each one of those Imfuleni people, if you go and check their petrol claims per month, the lowest is 30,000. We don't spend that, but we travel the whole country. Some of us are worse because we go to Limpopo 3 times before anything happens. So, but we don't spend 30,000. So we're not being an Imfuleni employee with 30,000. Where are you going? God, Imfuleni is just here. Where are you going? Clearly, they found some creative way of getting money out of that petrol. And then they are inflating prices and then getting something in return. That municipality, if anything, voting out the mayor is not enough. They must dissolve that municipality. It must be dissolved. The same thing with Sedibeng, it must be dissolved. And then we go into an election and let the voters have a choice to elect them again. You know, municipalities get dissolved, we come back with the same crop of people. There is no problem. We must never get tired because the communities must know that as long as they are not getting it right, they are not going to be left out of it until a solution is found. So to to try and fix it amongst ourselves as politicians is not working. So let's go back to the electorate and said the outcome did not give us what is desirable when it comes to service delivery, and then let's go back. So our call will be that Mfuleni must be dissolved. But if the motion goes in tomorrow, we will vote against that mayor of the ANC.